Welcome back to where it all began. So this is the first job we posted on YouTube. We previously built this loft conversion on this bungalow here for Kevin, William, Peer & Sons. So we're back here now to form a porch here at the front of the property. So we've got 2 oak posts either side of this brick pier, and we've got a half oak post going on the house section there. Then we've got a 6x6 pine ring beam on the top with a feature truss at the front as well, again made out of the pine. It's just the oak that we've got on the post there. And yeah, a gable pitch roof, pitching back into the existing, tying it in. First port of call is connecting it to this brickwork. We're going to be drilling through and resin fixing some M18 threaded stud into here. So we'll then bore the bottom of the post, sit it on so it's bearing on the brickwork as well. Get this ring beam formed. The pitch is a little bit of an unknown at the minute of the gable because on the plan it shows 45 degrees, but that would be quite a high pitch for the driving rain to come through with a truss detail at the front. So we're going to have a little play around with it, set up a template, and yeah, let's get into it. Right, so we've drilled the holes now for the threaded bar to go into the brickwork. We've gone down 280, so pretty much where the end of that is there. It's going to be sticking up about 2 inches, well it will be 2 inches above the brickwork here. And what I've done is checked, this is the highest point of the brickwork at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. 6 points being that we've got the half posts obviously going on the brickwork there. So anyway, this is the highest point. So I know that because if I go around, this one's actually level with that one. Over here, yeah, like you can see it's off the brickwork there. Whereas over here, yeah, we are tight down. So we know this side is the highest point. What we'll do is our pump. Get all the dust out, pump all the dust out, we blow through the hole as well. So we've got to get our chemical resin, pump it in there, tap these down, and then we'll laser in these plates again to get these dead in line. So these ones will be tight down onto the brick, well obviously the nut spacing it off. These ones we'll have to wind the nut up slightly to get it level. And then what we'll do is we'll chop underneath the posts. So the posts are pretty much sat on top of the brickwork. So we'll have to house out the shape of the plate underneath. Okay, so we've got the half newel posts resin fixed to the house now, both sides. We've come down from the soffit 150mm to allow for our 6x6 pine ring beam all the way around. And yeah, we've got these studs in here. So the next thing, what we've done is bored the underside of these, so allowing for the plate above the brickwork, the secondary bolt, and then the actual, sorry, the secondary nut, and then the actual bolt going up there. So we're gonna put a bit of clear sealant in here, just to, you know, the main thing that's going to hold it is the weight sitting on top. I mean, that's sticking up about 50 mil, off here is 70. Rather than have all the weight bearing on here, if we had slightly larger plates, then I would have just sat them on here, having a gap underneath. But being that this is all we had supplied by the main contractor, yeah, I'd rather sit the post directly on the brickwork for full bearing. So yeah, we bored them out. We're going to plonk them on one by one, get our level all the way around, and start fixing the ring beam. Right, so we've got all the posts in, the ring beam in, we've routed a nice stop chamfer on the posts, the knee braces. So we've given it a bit of a sand up. We're going to give it a bit more of a sand up with an 80 grit paper, just to get a lot of this black marking off the oak. Now we're going to be cutting a couple of patterns for the pitch. So the pitch is a little bit of an unknown. We cut a pair at 38 degrees, which finished, the ridge line would have been about roughly where the lead is there. That was a bit high, because if you imagine driving rain coming in with an open truss, it's going to get in to the porch area. So we're going to reduce it to 30 degrees, approximately around this sort of height. So quite shallow, but it'll just work a bit nicer, I think. So yeah, we're going to measure, get the half span, use our calculation to cut a pair of rafters, and then we'll mark out the front truss, and I'll show you the process of that now. So here's how we work out our first pair. So I've got it all written down here. So the span is 2,870 millimeters. If we divide that by 2, you've got 1435, so that's the half span. The cosine of 30 degrees is 0.866. So if you divide the half span, which is 1435 millimeters, by 0.866, that gives you 1657, which is the length of the rafter from top of plumb to top of plumb. So set my square to 30, mark a plumb cut, cut the plumb cut off, then I measure off that point. 1657, which is there. Plumb mark. A third of the 6x2, which is 145, is 48, there or thereabouts. So I've set my roofing square down squared to 30 on that mark there, yeah. Now I've got my third mark here, look. So I'll move this, get that on the line, move this up until this part of the square, the blade if you like, is in line with that mark. And then I can mark my seat cut. Cut this out, work out the drop from top of ring beam down to where we want the soffit. I'll cut that as well. This can be a pattern rafter. We've got 4 pairs to cut. So I'll show you once we've got them up at the top, then marking out the truss. Okay, so we're going to now be using our template rafters that we had up there a minute ago to mark out our 6x6 timber for the trusses. So this truss is going to bird's mouth over the ring beam at each end, same as these rafters. You can do it where the ring beam would stick out slightly more and you just cut a seat cut on it and mortise and tenon, but this method that we're doing, mechanically fixing it, this would work fine for that. So we've laid the templates out on top, so I'll just flush it on the top because we want the battens to run through undercloak on here, and there'll be a cement verge at the front there. So I'm literally just marking plumb cut there, make sure it's flush here, mark the plumb cut there for the fascia, mark the bird's mouth. And when we had the template up a minute ago, we measured from the top of that ring beam to the underside of the apex where the rafters met at the top, and that gives us our central post. And this is going to be a queen post truss, which looks something like this. So it'll have a central post and then 2 angled posts as a bit of a feature. So what I'm marking now is these parts. We measure the centre post, and then we can work out these by prescribing it. If we had a big template, we could scale it off from that. So I will come back to you when we start getting it up. So we've stripped all the tiles back now then, we've cut the feet of the rafters back to the back of these bricks because we're unsure of, on the inside of the porch, whether this is going to be bricked up in line with the pitch of the roof or this is going to be cladded. As I say, unsure yet, but because we've gone to the back of the bricks, it gives the option to either frame it, to clad it, or brick it up. Tiles, yeah, we've stripped them back where we need to. So I've got the length of the ridge now, and all I did, because this is quite short, it's got a 6 foot level, put it on this shoulder of the truss, rest it on that batten, that's level there, put a mark up there, and then I've just measured from the housing to the mark. This truss is plumb already, as you can see, so that's sat nicely plumb. So I know that once I level across, that was plumb, that's the length of the ridge. So here's the ridge that I've cut. So the pitch of this roof is 45 degrees, pitch of this porch is 30. So this angle is 45 because it's sitting on the pitch that's 45. So let's land that in there. Nice and snug. Still got to go in a bit more. Just check that with the level. Still got to go in a touch more. Spot on. There we go. So now I'll show you us constructing the roof and come back to you once it's all sorted. Voila, we're all done now, as you can see. It was a bit tricky joining in the existing to the new around that area there. We've had to do 2 separate valley lay boards. One at the top and then, yeah, one with a slight break in it. But when that has been counter-battened and battened, the centre line of the valley will line up. So yeah, all done, fascia's on. Front sprocket detail here. Gone for an open eaves, so that will let the air flow through. Should look a bit nicer. Yeah, so this has taken 4 days for us to build. Pleased with how it's gone because we've done this without any drawings really. Well, there was a basic elevation, but originally it was going to be a tiled front, so the client decided to have this a bit more of a feature. And yeah. So yeah, pleased with how it's gone, as I say. Thanks for watching this one. See you next time.